I tried to beat an entire game of Wii Sports Golf with just a keyboard. That means that all the motion controls on a normal Wiimote will be mapped to a keyboard. But that alone is too easy, so I made a challenge for myself. Beat the game with a score of 54 or less. I wasn't sure if I could even do this, so I decided to do a practice game to see if it was possible. And I immediately had no idea what I was doing. I was just randomly pressing buttons and hoping something would work. So on my first hit, it barely went anywhere. And I did that many more times. I missed the hole and I just did a terrible job all around. This was going to be hard. And I ended the first hole with 9 strokes. And in order to get a score of 54, I would need an average of 6 strokes for each hole. But I kept playing terribly for the next few holes. And I ended up with a total score of 87. That means that in order to beat my challenge, I would have to cut my score by 33. But that was just practice. And now I know the maps. So I started another game, and this time I figured out how to hit it harder. So I got through the first level in only 4 strokes. The next level was 6, then 7, then 4. I was on a roll already. If I kept this up, I would beat my challenge on my first real try, and things were looking good. Next I got a 6, then a 7, then another 6, and all of a sudden, I was on the final round. I had a score of 46 so far, so I just need to beat it in 8 strokes. The first was great, but on the second, I hit it into the water. And when you hit something out of bounds, it increases your score by 2. This was bad. And on the next one, I did it again. I can only make 3 more hits before failing the challenge. Luckily though, my next shot was perfect. And my next one was also good. All I had to do now was hit the last shot. And I did, ending the game with exactly 54 points. But that's way too easy. So I challenged myself even further to beat the game with 45 or less points. An average of 5 strokes per hole. I knew this would be very difficult, but I started a new game anyway. However, I played even worse this time, and I got a score of 57 points. And then on the next game, I got 55 points, and then 57 again. I thought it was going terribly, and I was starting to doubt if I could even do this. But what I didn't realize at the time is that with each game, I was honing my craft. I was learning how the ball rolls, how the ball flies, and how the ball is meant to be hit. I was becoming an artist, but with a club as my paintbrush. And with each hit, my skill improved. Now, I just had to put it all together. And with my increased power, I was able to hit the golf balls even harder, beating the first hole with just 4 strokes, and my next few shots were even better, beating the second hole with just 3. But the next one wasn't quite as good. I got 1 out of bounds, and played pretty terribly, ending with 9 strokes. That was bad. The next one I got a 5 without much difficulty, and a 6 on the next. And then a 4. Things were looking pretty good. And with another 6, and then a 4, I found myself on the last level. But then, on my second stroke, this happened. Another out of bounds hit. And with that, I ended the hole with 7 strokes, and the game with a total of 48 points. I was so close. If I just never went out of bounds, I probably could have done it. I just needed to get 3 less points. So I started again, ready to win. First hole, 4 points. Second, 3 points. Third, 6 points. But with an out of bounds on the 4th, I got 6 points again. And I needed to get an average of 5 points per hole, so I couldn't afford to keep making mistakes. But with a 5, then a 6, and then a 4, I started to think that this was the one. So after getting another 5, I went into the final level. I needed to beat it in just 6 strokes, and on my first hit, out of bounds. But I could still do this, and with a good hit, it was still possible. But then, it happened again. It was over, and I ended it with 8 points, and a total of 47 points. I was so close. 2 less points and I could have done it. So I kept on going, and going, and going, losing at every step of the way. I couldn't do it. It was just too hard. So I gave up, and I continued later. But this time was different. All that time of failing, hitting it into the water, and missing my shots, taught me how to hit the ball perfectly. So I went into a new game prepared. I got a 5 on the first hole. Not my best, but still good enough. And then a 4 on the second hole. The more holes I get it in under 5, the more mistakes I can make. So if I could keep doing this, I could definitely beat it. But on the next level, something terrible happened. Out of bounds on my first hit. And then with some more bad hits, I ended with 8 points. Luckily, however, on the next one, I got a 3. So that made up for a few points. But then on the next hole, this happened, making me end up with 6 points. On the next one, I hit a 5, then a 4, and finally another 5. And I was on the final round again. At this point, I had a score of 40 points. So in order to get a 45, I could only hit it 5 times. So, on my first hit, I hit it as hard as possible, making it onto the next island. But from there, I decided to try something risky, to hit it over the water and all the way to the end. And I did. 3 shots left. And with one good swing, I was almost there. And with another, I was right next to it, giving me a clean shot to hit it in, ending the game with exactly 45 points, beating the game with only a keyboard. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.